Imagine this. You've got an HOA Karen in your neighborhood who thinks she's the queen of everyone's yard. She doesn't like how you're living your life, so she takes it upon herself to impose some ridiculous rules. But this time she went too far. She decided to set up a whole movie night in my yard without asking, thinking she could just waltz in and take control. Yeah, you heard that right, my yard. Now, I wasn't about to let this slide. Instead of playing along, I decided to flip the script. I hooked up my projector, but not to a random movie like she expected. Nope. I went with something way more personal. What did I put on the big screen? Let's just say it wasn't your average rom-com. Nope. It was *** divorce hearings. The very thing she probably didn't want anyone to know about. As her face turned red with embarrassment, the whole neighborhood got an unexpected front row seat to the drama. But the chaos didn't end there. What happened next? Well, that's where things really got interesting. You'll want to stick around to find out what happened when she tried to retaliate. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Now, you might be wondering, how did I get to this point? Well, it all started a few months ago when I moved into this neighborhood. I thought it would be a quiet place to settle down, but then I met Linda, the so-called queen of our HOA. She's one of those people who thinks she can dictate every little thing you do. From parking your car in front of your house to trimming your bushes the right way, she had an opinion on it all. It wasn't just about rules, it was about control. And honestly, it was exhausting. But this movie night thing, that was the last straw. She's always been a stickler about community events, but she decided to take it to a whole new level when she started emailing everyone about this backyard movie night. No one even asked for it, but Linda was determined to make it happen. And guess whose yard she chose to set it up in? Yep, mine. Apparently, she thought I wouldn't mind, since I have a decent-sized lawn. I tried to politely say no. I mean, I've got my own plans, right? But Linda, she brushed me off. So that's when the gears started turning in my head. If she wanted to make a spectacle of my yard, I'd turn it into a show she'd never forget. What I didn't expect was how far she'd go to get revenge. And that's when things really escalated. After the movie night idea got forced on me, I thought I'd just let it go and avoid any conflict. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something. This wasn't just about a backyard event, it was about power. Linda was flexing her HOA muscles, and I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. She probably thought I was just another quiet neighbor who'd sit back and accept whatever she threw at me, but that wasn't who I am. The night she set up the movie event, I knew I had to act fast. I didn't want to look like I was overreacting, so I kept it cool on the surface, but inside, I was already scheming. I spent hours setting up my projector, making sure everything was just right. When I hit play on her divorce hearings, I wasn't just watching her private life unfold. I was watching her carefully crafted facade shatter in front of everyone. The irony of it all wasn't lost on me. Linda had always prided herself on being the perfect, picture-perfect neighbor, but there she was, exposed. But here's the thing, Linda didn't take kindly to that, and that's where things got tricky. At first, it seemed like she might just pack up and slink away in shame, but no, she didn't. She was livid. That's when I started noticing strange things happening around my house. I'd come out to find my mailbox knocked over, or random notes left on my doorstep, passive-aggressively telling me I'd crossed a line. It didn't stop there. It was like Linda was taking her revenge to a whole new level, and I knew I couldn't just sit back anymore. The tension between us was building, and I had no idea how far she'd go to get even. But what really got me thinking was the one thing she didn't know. I had a few more tricks up my sleeve. Things started getting weirder after that. The notes and the vandalism were just the beginning. It felt like Linda was waging some kind of silent war on me, and I had no idea how far she'd go. One morning, I found a warning letter from the HOA itself in my mailbox, accusing me of disrupting the neighborhood's peace and threatening fines. The nerve. Linda was behind that, no doubt. She was using her position to turn the whole neighborhood against me. But I wasn't about to let her win. I thought I'd been smart, keeping everything low-key after the projector stunt, but I could feel the pressure building. Linda was getting bolder, and I knew this wasn't going to end until one of us made a move that the other couldn't ignore. The more she pushed, the more I realized she was playing for keeps. But I wasn't about to back down. Then came the night that really sent everything spiraling. I was sitting on my porch, sipping my coffee, when I saw a car slowly pull up in front of my house. I didn't recognize it, but there was something off about the way it parked. And then, out of nowhere, Linda appeared in my yard. She was standing there, looking straight at me, as if she'd been waiting for this exact moment. I braced myself for whatever was coming next, but I had no idea how far she'd go this time. The tension was unbearable. It was like everything had led up to this moment, and I knew one wrong move could change everything. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at me with a look that made my blood run cold. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a petty HOA fight anymore. It was personal. As I stood there, trying to figure out what Linda was up to, I could feel the tension thick in the air. It wasn't like her to be this quiet. I half expected her to start yelling about how I'd crossed the line with the movie night, or maybe try to lecture me again about neighborhood rules. But instead, she took a deep breath and said something I never saw coming. "I didn't want it to come to this," she said, her voice colder than usual, "but you've left me no choice." I stared at her, confused. What was she talking about? Before I could ask, she pulled out a folded document from her bag. At first, I thought it was just another letter, more of the same passive-aggressive nonsense she had been sending, but then she dropped a bombshell. It was a legal notice. A lawsuit. I blinked, not sure I was reading it right. Linda was suing me, claiming that my inappropriate actions at the movie night had caused her emotional distress and disrupted her life in such a way that it was causing irreparable harm to her reputation. Are you kidding me? This was insane. The audacity. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. But that wasn't the kicker. As I looked up from the document, Linda's face twisted into something darker, almost menacing. "You should have just stayed quiet," she said, her voice low. "You think you're the only one with power here. I have connections, and you're about to learn just how deep they go." I felt the weight of her words hit me like a ton of bricks. What did she mean by connections? Was she really that connected, or was this just another scare tactic? The stakes had just gone through the roof, and my gut told me this was far from over. Now, I wasn't just fighting an HOA Karen. I was up against something much bigger, and I had no idea how far she'd go to take me down. I stood there, holding the lawsuit in my hand, trying to process what she'd just said. The words irreparable harm echoed in my mind. I could feel the anger bubbling up, but I knew I had to keep my cool. If this was really happening, I wasn't about to let Linda get the last word. But then something unexpected happened. As I stared at her, trying to figure out how I was going to handle this new mess, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out without thinking, and what I saw made my stomach drop. It was an email from the HOA board, addressed to me, openly accusing me of harassment, claiming that I was the one who had broken neighborhood rules, and warning that the matter was being escalated. This was it. Linda had clearly been working behind the scenes, playing her hand far more strategically than I had realized. But here's where the twist hit. Just as I was about to respond, I looked up, and Linda was staring at my phone, a small smile creeping across her face. And then, with a calm that made my blood run cold, she dropped the real bombshell.